Revealed. How a struggling girl transformed a famous millionaire's life with an unexpected kiss. Emma Grant's body felt like it was made of lead as she scrubbed yet another coffee mug at the silver spoon. At 18, she often wondered how a small-town girl like her ended up shouldering the weight of the world, the responsibilities piled on since her father's death just a year ago. Juggling classes at the community college while working evenings at this upscale diner drained her, leaving little room for a dream she once held close: to become a medical researcher. With each mixed platter she served, she couldn't help but glance longingly at the chef's kitchen, where culinary arts blossomed into something magnificent, something she could only aspire to achieve within her own field. Tonight felt different though, a tighter coil of unease resting in her chest. She had just informed her mother that her siblings needed new shoes, good ones for school, but the kitchen's din silenced all her hopes. The pressure of tuition, the bills threatening to drown them, and the sheer exhaustion sometimes gripped her mind, a cage of doubts. Could she actually rise above this life? Feeding her ambition clashed dangerously with the exhausting reality of survival. Would a single perfect moment, an unexpected stroke of luck, change everything? As she leaned over a table to refill a coffee pot, her world tilted. A hot splash struck her apron, seeping through the fabric and burning her skin, a total spill across the lap of the man sitting there. Alex Harrison. The man was notorious in every newspaper, in every whispered conversation. With his tailored suits and ruthless reputation, he might as well have been an alien. Fear gripped her as the room lost its sounds, oxygen feeling limited. What followed was a cascade of profuse apologies tumbling from her lips, each word heavier than the last. She braced for his cutting remarks, but something in his eyes quivered under the surface. "Relax," he said with unexpected calm, his deep voice aimed at soothing her history of dread. They began to talk at first about the coffee ordeal, but as their conversation weaved through ambitions and vulnerabilities, Emma felt an unfamiliar warmth thawing her frigid self-doubt. Tantalizing power. Would he embrace this? Would he risk it all for them? The kiss ignited something in her, a candle against the bitter winds. But around Alex, whispers churned like storms. The threat of his empire crumbling rang louder than her own heartbeat, and suddenly she found herself questioning. Could this relationship survive the tumult of their differences? The dilemma hung heavily, an ache that refused to subside. They were caught in the crossfire of ambition, emotion and expectation, teetering on the edge of unknown. Uncertain of their fates, trapped in their polarized lives, Emma and Alex faced the tempest of change with fear echoing through their minds. Emma floated through the gala's opulent surroundings, each glittering chandelier overhead refracting her whirlwind of emotions. The kiss still electrified her lips, an act of bravery that both thrilled and terrified her. Yet as she pulled away from Alex, reality recoiled into focus. The gazes of the crowd pierced her, dissecting their unexpected moment. What bold declaration had she made? She had stepped from the shadows of her existence into the spotlight, but now uncertainty plagued her, and the silence that followed, Emma's heart raced. This kiss, however sudden, felt like a tether to hope. A small voice within her questioned whether this was the path to her dream, the dream of becoming a medical researcher, transformed by the cauldron of ambition ignited between them. Alex's eyes focused on hers, vulnerability mingling with urgency, but the chaos around them loomed ominous. He held a world full of pressures, expectations, and hidden struggles that paralleled her own. What if her daring leap didn't shatter her limits but rather highlighted their differences? Those layers of fear and ambition she sensed in Alex were mirrored in her own trepidation. She had to confront the profound implications of this connection. What could it mean for them and for her aspirations? "Let us step outside," Alex suggested, his voice calm but his eyes alight with something more primal, a spark of understanding. The two wove through the crowd, the din muting around them until they found an alcove lit softly by moonlight. "Emma," he started, hesitating, grappling with something beneath the surface. That was unexpected. His vulnerability pulled her closer, as if a shared bond was forming, a moment of recognition between two worlds. "I know," she said softly, her voice steadying. "I wanted to break through this barrier." His expression shifted. Her words penetrated the armor he wore so effortlessly. "Do you think we can handle what's between us?" Alex's question felt like an invitation into a deeper honesty, A moment where dreams could clash against cold, hard realities. Despite her instinct to shield herself, she leaned into this debate. Could they navigate the differences in their lives without losing themselves? I am terrified, Alex, she admitted, the tremor in her voice betraying her. Terrified of becoming just another name in your world. A fleeting moment. But the kiss? It felt genuine. I crave more than this, more than survival. I want to push beyond limits. As he stepped closer, shadows passing over his face, she saw flashes of conflict within him. I'm not sure if I can let you in, he confessed. My life it's complicated. There are expectations weighing me down. Then let us redefine what we want, Emma urged him, her voice gaining strength. I refuse to be a placeholder in your empire. We can ignite something different, something real. Defiance vibrated in the air between them, echoes of their ambitions pounding like a tribal chant. But beneath that ambitious fervor lay a chasm filled with doubts. Would Alex choose her in a world dictated by status and power? With a heavy breath, the reality of their situation settled. They were birds caught in a storm, wings flapping against the tempest of their choices. Each decision potentially leading to safety or crashing despair. Can we face it together? She asked, her heart now mirroring the trepidation of the night, the flames of promise battling against pressures threatening to consume them both. He studied her carefully, as if weighing both the moment and their futures. I want to find out. The tentative commitment ignited a hope within her, flickering like the fading candlelight behind her. As they stepped back into the ballroom, the weight of external judgments and internal dilemmas weighed heavily. The reality of his world closed in around them again, yet something essential burned brightly, a chance for transformation, for dreams tethering this brash girl and the millionaire into the unknown. But a moment's glance allowed her to catch one of Alex's rivals across the room, the man's gaze hardening into something ominous. Their future felt perilous now, hinged not just on their connection, but on a fabricated empire rising up to keep them apart. Emma's breath hitched as she realized this was just the beginning. Would they unravel the threads that sought to bind them, losing themselves in the process? The moment of reckoning lay ahead, daring them to confront their fears and insecurities. Would they rise together? Or would the shadows of their lives consume them whole? As the night deepened, Emma's resolve intertwined with the electric atmosphere surrounding her. Every soul shimmering in the grand ballroom appeared unaware of the storm just ignited between her and Alex. Yet the anticipatory thrill of potential lingered, shifting her focus from uncertainty to possibility. She could no longer hide in the shadows. She needed to articulate what she wanted, not just for them, but for herself. Navigating this is going to be tough, she thought, strategically crafting her words. The dance of ambition and hesitance between them was palpable, and as they wove themselves back into the festivities, Emma felt the need to reclaim her autonomy. She wouldn't be a mere player in Alex's affluent world. She was determined to define her narrative. Taking a measured breath, she turned to him, mischief sparking in her eyes. So, Mr. Millionaire, what do you do for fun? The question took him by surprise, a hint of a smile breaking through his serious demeanor. Fun is a rare commodity in my life, he replied, the lightness in his tone revealing a deep-rooted yearning. But when I can, I like to explore, try new things, push my boundaries. Then let us push our boundaries together, Emma urged, emboldened by his response. The kiss was just the start, right? We need to discover who we are beyond these expectations. His eyes flickered with intrigue, yet the shadows of doubt still lurked. And just what do you envision? With her heart racing from a rush of empowerment, Emma declared, I want to tackle personal challenges. I want to delve deeper into my research, explore how passion can intersect with my career. And I want you to join me in that journey, show me how your world operates. A long silence descended between them as he considered her proposition. In that span of time, uncertainty coiled within her. Would he be willing to venture into her world where the formulaic structures of wealth and power ceased to matter? Finally he answered, I'm intrigued by your perspective. It's so different from the rest of my life. But even suggesting that scares me. Good, she said, her tone mingling seriousness with a teasing playfulness. Fear can lead to growth. Let us see how much we can rediscover about ourselves. That became the foundation of their connection. A willingness to confront not just the bright lights of ambition, but the shadows lurking behind their aspirations. Thrill accompanied a growing sense of urgency. She needed to cement their bond while simultaneously acknowledging the weight of their fears. As the music swelled and the crowd whirled around them, Emma could feel her confidence surging. She imagined the possibilities of life as a medical researcher, catalyzing change, unraveling secrets hiding within the human body. But intertwined with that passion was her personal stake in Alex's world. What would happen next as they stitched together their lives from the tattered fabric of ambition, privilege, and vulnerability? With that thought in mind, she steered Alex to a quieter corner of the ballroom, desperate for a distraction, to allow them both the space to reassess. Just as they started discussing projects that lay ahead, Alex's rival from earlier emerged again, his piercing gaze cutting through the crowd, instantly souring the room with electric tension. Something's not right, Emma thought, her instincts kicking in as she sensed how Alex tensed beside her. The impending confrontation loomed, crawling toward them like a predatory shadow. Would this man challenge their newfound connection? Would he expose weaknesses that lay beneath their daring facade? "Are you ready?" Emma whispered, urgency threading through her voice. He nodded slowly, but his unease deepened. They both recognized an unwelcome challenge ahead. The narrative was shifting, weaving a tension that threatened to shackle their ambitions. They were at the precipice, but confronting strangers would require a level of vulnerability they hadn't fully accomplished yet. In that moment of stillness, the question hung in the air. Would their resolve withstand external pressures, or would the light of their newfound promise dissipate into shadows? Emma felt the air between them crackle with both anxiety and anticipation, preparing them for a night that would determine their course. The face-off against Alex's rival was inevitable, and as the night spiraled into uncertainty, she wondered if they would rise above the fray, or crumble beneath the weight of their intersecting worlds. In the quiet corner of the ballroom, a thrum of tension pulsed through Emma as Alex's rival approached, a dark cloud looming over the vibrant atmosphere that enveloped them just moments before. She could feel a magnetism in the air, a force pulling at the threads of their connection, threatening to unravel the delicate fabric they'd begun to weave. "Stay close to me," Alex murmured, his eyes narrowing as he took a predatory stance. Emma felt a mixture of protectiveness and apprehension wash over her. Every instinct urged her to step into the fray, to assert her presence, but the weight of the moment made her hesitate. "Who is he?" she asked, her determination flickering against the backdrop of fear. Alex's tension only heightened her own resolve. "Just someone who thinks he knows me, someone who doesn't," he replied, his voice low and tight. Yet it was clear this encounter would test both their limits. As the rivals strode into their space, gripping an unsettling smirk, Emma could see the disdain glimmering in his eyes like shards of glass. "Ah, Alex, bringing a date? I didn't picture you with someone so ordinary." His lips curled in mock amusement, but beneath the hostility lay a calculated intention to undermine. "Emma's anything but ordinary," Alex snapped, a protective edge sharpening the tone of his voice. The defense surprised Emma. It felt empowering, igniting a fire within her like the dimming lights of the ballroom reflected on polished wood. "Is that right?" the rival retorted, directing his disdain at her. "Please do enlighten us about your worth." Emma could feel the challenge lie heavy between them like a brick. Naivete flickered in her brain. Could she dismantle this tension without the tools of privilege or power her counterpart wielded? Before she could think further, her heart raced and words spilled forth, propelled by a mix of confidence and defiance. "I've spent years in the labs, working to uncover truths about the human condition. I might be ordinary in your eyes, but I'm pursuing extraordinary things. There's more value in that than all the money in the world." A surprised silence fell as she stared into eyes that had never considered her as an equal. The tension shifted, and she could see the rival's arrogance waver, if only slightly. Emma felt a surge of satisfaction, emboldened by a flicker of power she hadn't previously recognized. Alex's rival watched her for a mere moment longer, and then smirked, a mixture of intrigue and irritation evident in his demeanor. "You've got spunk, I'll give you that. But spunk won't shield you in this world, sweetheart." The word sweetheart dug into her like a barb, but Emma held firm. Their words had become a dance, each step calculated, testing the lengths of their influence. She glanced sideways at Alex, who appeared both impressed and conflicted. They were tied, oscillating between two worlds, hers lit by determination, his shadowed by insecurity. Perhaps it's not about shielding, Emma challenged, her voice steady. Maybe it's about standing together, redefining the rules. At that moment, she realized her resolve was not just a shield but an active force. She was determined to navigate the challenges ahead, shaping her own path while inviting Alex onto hers. This was more than just a fleeting connection. It could potentially propel them both, but only if they embraced their fears and built upon their strengths. The rival scoffed, but a hint of calculation started to emerge in his expression. He recognized they were formidable opponents, refusing to align with the script he had dictated. Let us see how this plays out, shall we? He turned, withdrawing into the crowd but leaving behind the residue of doubt and the embedded challenge of competition. As his presence dissipated, Emma felt a shift between her and Alex. The air was still charged, but there was a sense of liberation in the realization that they wouldn't merely exist within definitions imposed by others. They could choose how to rewrite their narratives together or apart. What just happened? Alex asked, shaking off the remnants of tension. Emma smiled, confidence surging anew. I think we just discovered our first step in this journey. We confront challenges head-on, no matter how uncomfortable. His brow furrowed, but a spark ignited in his eyes, stirring a mix of admiration and intrigue. You mean you're not afraid of the fallout? Fear is part of growth. Challenge is where transformation starts. I'm ready if you are. With each passing moment, they were molding potential from uncertainty. Yet, Emma understood they were still only at the beginning of the path they had illuminated together. As she looked at Alex, the flickering lights danced, reflecting possibilities yet unexplored. What lay ahead would not be easy, but she felt more equipped than ever before to face it. Still, a deeper concern nestled in her mind. How would they navigate the cascading repercussions of their decisions and the expectations they were daring to defy? A realization struck her: this newfound connection would be an unyielding crucible for both, shaping them in ways they had yet to understand. The question loomed. Would their commitment to resolve endure when faced with deeper entanglements and personal dilemmas? And as they both stood at the edge of more than just confrontation, but discovery, Emma realized she was ready to find out. Emma stepped away from the lingering tension of the ballroom, her mind racing with the unexpected turn of events. She could still feel the friction from the rivals' disdain and Alex's tumultuous defense echoing in her thoughts. Striding purposefully into the next room, she focused on the throbbing pulse of her heartbeat, which mirrored both anxiety and exhilaration. Can you believe the nerve of him? Emma turned to Alex, the indignation spilling out with an unexpected fervor. The adrenaline coursed through her veins, urging her to channel this momentum into something productive. It's ridiculous to think some people believe they can judge worth based on status alone. Alex's expression softened, catching her frustration with a hint of understanding. You handled that really well, he replied, sincerity etching every word. I didn't expect you to challenge him like that. In that moment, Emma felt as if invisible barriers she had always known had cracked just a little bit. It wasn't just about standing up to an opponent. It was about standing up for her own narrative, claiming her space without waiting for permission. The feeling was intoxicating, lingering like the warmth of a sunbeam breaking through the clouds. Maybe it's time to redefine who gets to tell our stories, she mused, the thought dancing across her mind like sparks igniting kindling. We can't let others dictate our worth. The profound realization settled in her core, transforming the initial rush into a deeper desire for personal progress. She had witnessed how easily perceptions could nullify individual journeys. Emma was determined to continue pushing beyond the forces that sought to confine her. The music still pulsed faintly, but Emma felt a shift in her focus as she sensed the energy of the room transitioning. They were on the cusp of discovering not just greater insights into themselves, but also potentials intertwined with each other. Alex, I know we just faced a small battle, but this is just the beginning, she said, her eyes locking with his, determination spilling into visibility. We have to strategize on how to push back against that line of thinking consistently, not just with the likes of him but in every situation. He nodded, the reflection of admiration crossing his features. What do you suggest? Emma paused, letting her ideas crystallize through her thoughts. It was easy to be swept away in the moment's energy, but this was more than a fleeting victory. It was a call to action, a plea for intentional growth. We need to forge a path together, tackling our professional challenges collectively. We leverage our strengths while working to define what extraordinary looks like. He raised his eyebrows, curiosity igniting in a wave. Define extraordinary? Yes, she affirmed, mulling over the idea. Let us explore what we can accomplish, transforming both of our narratives. We need to be our own advocates, surrounded by people who uplift us instead of defining our worth for us. A confidence she hadn't fully realized surged again, and she dove deeper into her thoughts. We should create a systematic way to engage in the spaces we want to be seen in, presenting our work, our ideas with undeniable strength. We could collaborate on projects, host discussions that empower those around us, and redefine status through innovation, rather than wealth. Alex's mouth curled into a grin, intrigue lighting up his expression. I like the sound of that. It's about the work we put forward, not just the background we come from. With a renewed sense of partnership, they began discussing plans, each idea merging into the next, joint ambitions blossoming from the fertile ground of their respective histories. In a matter of moments, the doubts that once clung to the air began dissipating like morning mist, revealing clarity and purpose as the conversation expanded. Emma realized she was not only molding her future but also guiding Alex's perception of his potential. She understood the road would not be easy and the outside world might still throw challenges their way. But they would confront these obstacles armed with a shared conviction, transforming external perceptions into opportunities for growth. Hours passed, yet the excitement did not wane. As they dove deeper into their budding partnership, Emma felt a whispering sense of challenge urging her onward. What dangers awaited when they stepped beyond the confines of the ballroom and wrapped their minds around their broader ambitions? The simmering current of hesitation still moved beneath her confidence. What startling realizations would they uncover about their motivations, their ambitions, and themselves before this is done? Emma felt the weight of both expectation and opportunity, her skin prickling with anticipation. In the heart of it all, looming just beyond their immediate plans, was an undeniable truth. Would they be ready to face both their internal doubts and external critics head-on as they set forth into uncharted waters? Each horizon held both promise and peril. Emma steeled her resolve, knowing they were about to traverse a course that could shape their destinies forever. Emma leaned against the polished surface of the conference table, its sleek facade reflecting a flicker of unease in her expression. The plan she and Alex had brainstormed together now rested in her mind like a blueprint awaiting execution. It was thrilling, yes, but also daunting. The responsibility of shaping their futures rested heavily on her shoulders. Let's talk specifics, Emma suggested, shaking off the lingering doubts. We need to map out concrete actions and timelines. Without those, our vision is just that, a vision. Alex sat across from her, flipping through notes they had jotted down during their intense discussion. How about we start with identifying potential projects? Something we can collaboratively spearhead to present our ideas. The enthusiasm in his voice sparked a new surge of motivation within her. Absolutely. Let's focus on issues we are passionate about, but also those where we can make a tangible impact, something that aligns with our professional goals. As they delved deeper, Emma's mind raced ahead. Could they develop a workshop series that tackled skills often overlooked in their field? She imagined sessions dedicated to fostering creativity, leadership, and effective communication, crucial facets of success that didn't always get the spotlight. You know what? Each workshop could have a theme. One could focus on creativity, another on leadership skills. She paused, realizing she was talking too fast, but the ideas kept flowing. We can even bring in speakers from diverse backgrounds to share their experiences and insights. Alex nodded, a spark of excitement in his eyes. That is powerful. We could reach folks who might feel sidelined in traditional settings. It highlights our unique approach to redefining success. It was a moment of collective clarity. Emma could feel paths unfurling before her. Yet, overshadowing that excitement was the creeping anxiety of failure. What if they put their hearts into this and it flopped? What if the very critics they sought to challenge found new ways to undermine their efforts? A silence lingered between them as the mood shifted. Emma took a breath, aware that her mind was racing against the inevitable hesitations of self-doubt. Alex, what if we face pushback? What if people dismiss our efforts or question our capabilities? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He leaned in, an intensity in his gaze. We won't know until we try. Every successful person has faced criticism. What matters is how we respond. We have to normalize the fact that not everyone will understand our journey. His words resonated deeply. Emma contemplated the others in their industry, those who had forged their paths despite adversity. A profound realization hit her. She wasn't just fighting against an external narrative, but also against her own fears. Doubt could either serve as a weight anchoring her down or fuel propelling her forward. I need to confront my own objections, those voices in my head that belittle my aspirations, Emma admitted. If I want to lead others to redefine their success, I must first navigate my own doubts. Alex's expression softened, recognizing her vulnerability. That's the first step, Emma. Growth often begins with acceptance of our fears. We can't let them paralyze us. Reinvigorated, Emma plunged back into their planning. She was determined to create a roadmap that would not only elevate their projects, but also their personal growth. The two continued outlining specifics, the workshop series starting to take on a tangible shape. Yet in the midst of strategizing, a realization unraveled tendrils of unfamiliar complexity in her thoughts. Were they prepared for the inevitable conflicts? Emma knew she needed to confront the external challenges and the internal struggles brewing within. Would their partnership withstand the pressure of ambition? Instrumental in shaping their professional identities, this journey would take them to untested waters. The hunger for change was palpable, amplified by her commitment to not only herself but also to the shared vision they crafted, the anticipation building each time she considered what lay ahead. As the meeting wound down, Emma was left with an unsettling thought. With every plan they made, every risk they contemplated, she felt the shades of her past creeping back, demanding recognition. Would the old fears revisit when faced with actual challenges? Would she emerge stronger, or break under pressure when it mattered most? Would her struggle ultimately lead to her triumph, or unravel her aspirations entirely? In that uncertainty, a new personal journey seemed about to unfold, and Emma braced herself for what it would reveal about who she truly was and who she could become. As she shifted her gaze towards her laptop, a nagging anticipation settled in the pit of her stomach. It was time to put their plans into action, but the real question loomed large. Could they handle the repercussions of their transformative journey? Emma sat alone in her small home office, the space littered with notes and sketches from their brainstorming session, remnants of ideas that demanded to be transformed into action. The walls, once a calming shade of blue, seemed to echo her brewing anxiety, tight and suffocating like a vice around her resolve. She picked up her coffee mug, the warmth a contrast to the chill of doubt creeping through her mind. The cascading recognition of responsibility weighed heavy. Visions of what their workshop series could become flitted just out of reach, like reflections in the surface of a lake disturbed by a breeze. What if she dropped the ball? What if her voice quivered in front of an audience, or worse, what if she didn't inspire change at all? These mental tapes played on repeat, a relentless barrage undermining her confidence. But beneath the layers of anxiety, Emma felt a flicker of determination. It was a sliver of fortitude urging her forward, demanding a response. She couldn't allow self-doubt to suffocate her aspirations. Instead, every insecurity was a call to action, a challenge to confront and rise above. She turned her attention back to the laptop screen, scrolling through names of potential speakers. Each one represented a unique story, a lesson learned through trials that resonated with the core of their mission. Invite an underdog, she jotted down, a fleeting idea. Get someone who has faced real adversity and triumphed. The notion invigorated her. The idea of showcasing vulnerability alongside strength made their workshops not just educational but personal and relatable. If she could share her journey, her imperfections, she might resonate with others, giving voice to their own struggles. It stirred something deep inside her, a realization that her authenticity could be just as powerful as success. Emma took a deep breath, engaging with the contrasting emotions bubbling within. The path ahead would be riddled with challenges, yet those challenges were also opportunities for growth. Each step they took would carve out not just their professional identities, but the authentic version of herself she wished to embody. She began drafting her own story, envisioning how she would share it during a workshop, a crucial piece that could bind their vision into a tangible reality. Yet, the prospect of sharing her raw, unfiltered self stirred a new wave of apprehension. How much would she expose? Her vulnerabilities weren't just hers. They were entwined with the narratives of others, speaking to fears that lingered in dark corners, afraid to step into the light. That was when the message from Alex chimed in a simple, "How's it going?" It was a nudge to reconnect, to sharpen their focus again. Maybe it was time to bring him into her thought process, share what she'd uncovered. She texted back, "Can we chat? I think I have some new ideas about the workshops." As thoughts whirled, she weighed the risks of inviting both him and performance pressures that come with public speaking into her mind. This project was a collaborative effort, yet the creeping suspicion that her partnership with Alex could face friction was a hindrance, teaching her trust. Could she rely on him to support her growth while challenging her to do better? Minutes later, as they began discussing the potential tools and techniques for the workshop series, Emma sensed a shift. Their dynamic crackled with possibility. Alex's unwavering support amplified her sense of self-worth, pushing her toward a braver self she never knew she could conjure. Each time they exchanged ideas, she felt her confidence ebbing and flowing, but surging stronger with each interaction. However, just as momentum began to build, Emma's thoughts shifted back to fear. Would she be able to handle the pressure when facing external pushback? What if her ideas fell flat, or worse, her personal journey wasn't enough to resonate? With her courage flickering like a candle battling the wind, the question of external perceptions loomed larger. What if they failed to connect with their audience? What if their journey to redefine success turned into a public downfall? Emma leaned back in her chair, their plans pulsating vibrantly in her mind, a project still in the making that offered too many unknowns. Overwhelmed yet invigorated by the prospect of forging a new path, she clenched her fist, affirming her resolve. The journey, with all its upcoming challenges, would be as revealing as the final product, an evolution that was just beginning. She knew she had to confront those fears head-on, not as barriers but as stepping stones toward growth. As she shifted her focus back to the screen, the upcoming call to action resonated deep within. It was time to execute their plans, only this time she was ready to embrace the trials to follow. Tomorrow she would step onto that stage. But would she uncover the strength she sought? Or would old wounds be reopened, redefining who she was meant to be? The uncertainty hung in the air, thick and charged, waiting for resolution. The morning light filtered through the blinds, casting stripes across Emma's cluttered desk. Today was the day. A quick flutter of apprehension twisted in her stomach as she dressed, selecting a simple yet professional outfit. She stood before the mirror, scrutinizing her reflection. This was more than just a presentation. It was the unveiling of her passion, her essence, a representation of her journey. A knot of uncertainty still nestled deep within, whispering fears she tried to silence. Driving to the venue, her mind raced with possibilities, rehearsing the message she wanted to convey. Each sharp turn in the road mirrored the twists of her thoughts, from inspiring triumphs to the shadows of self-doubt looming over her like thunderclouds. What if the stories she had woven together faltered under scrutiny? What if the audience saw her for the fragile facade she feared to unveil? Upon arrival, a bustling crowd awaited her. Familiar faces mingled with strangers, all eager for change. She caught Alex's eye from across the lobby, and he offered a reassuring smile that momentarily lit up her stormy mind. The gentle optimism he exuded grounded her, protecting her from the tempest she felt brewing internally. As they took their seats, a mixture of excitement and anxiety bubbled. The MC introduced a few speakers, each sharing their poignant experiences of resilience. Emma listened intently, captivated by their stories. She recognized the blend of vulnerability and strength. It was this very contrast she wanted to reflect in her own narrative. Yet, each voice that filled the space seemed to amplify her insecurities, pushing her to question whether her journey would resonate as profoundly. Then it was her turn. The moment arrived, and as she walked to the stage, her heart raced violently against her chest. A wave of collective anticipation washed over her, making the ground beneath her feel momentarily unsteady. The spotlight flickered onto her, illuminating Emma against a backdrop of expectations. For a second she froze. She could feel the heat of the unknown, the pressing weight of external scrutiny enhancing her internal whirlwind. Had she prepared enough? Would her voice carry the weight of authenticity she so desperately sought to express? Taking a deep breath, she spoke. The first few words felt foreign, but as she shared her story, how vulnerability had shaped her, and how authenticity connected human experiences, she began to tap into a deeper vein of resilience. She spoke of triumphs but did not shy away from the struggles that had defined her. Each anecdote formed grooves in her narrative, reflecting an unwavering resolve that transformed the weight of her fears into stepping stones. Her delivery was imperfect but real. She clasped her own hands, a grounding tool against the swirling tide of nerves. As she looked out into the audience, their faces resonated with empathy, a palpable energy that seemed to lift her. After finishing, a soft hum of applause echoed throughout the room. Their acceptance felt surreal, yet encouraging. Emma stepped down from the platform. She had done it. But just as quickly as she tasted victory, a recollection washed over her. The echoes of her fears threatened to resurface. What if they appreciated her words but failed to connect with her journey? What if she returned to doubt now that she had stepped into her truth? The subsequent conversations with attendees proved reassuring. People approached her, sharing how her words sparked hope or made them feel understood. Their stories intertwined with her own. Yet, a single lingering question remained within. Could this one moment reshape the course of her life? Would she draw strength from the very vulnerability that had once paralyzed her? As the day progressed, Emma found herself engaged in deep conversations, but specific exchanges stood out, moments where she discovered untapped professional skills she hadn't acknowledged before. Unfolding narratives revealed strengths forged in the fires of self-exploration, each connection offering a mirror. Reflecting back her potential, Alex materialized beside her, weaving through the crowd, and with a genuine brightness illuminating his features, he posed a question that struck like a lightning bolt in her chest. Are you ready to take this journey even further, beyond today? The challenge danced in the air, a promise of further revelation yet to unfold. Emma felt her heart race, fueled not by fear this time but by anticipation. The moment of truth had merely begun. She was ready for change, ready to explore deeper truths about herself, and ready to face the uncertainties ahead. But as the room filled with laughter and spark, she couldn't shake the feeling that a much larger struggle awaited her on this journey. Would she truly be able to embrace the challenges that lay ahead? Or was this merely the calm before another storm? The air buzzed with excitement as Emma stood alongside Alex, absorbing the energy emanating from the crowd. The reactions to her presentation felt like whispers of validation, yet the question he posed loomed larger than any applause. Were the fleeting moments of courage enough to propel her forward? When the exchange subsided, and the vibrancy of the crowd faded to the background, Emma turned her attention to Alex. What do you mean by beyond today? She asked, her voice barely a murmur over the afterglow of the event. His gaze locked onto hers, and the intensity of his focus made her heartbeat quicken. You've tapped into something powerful, Emma. But you can't stop here. You've shared your story, but now you need to make it actionable to step into a greater role. His encouragement ignited a flicker of ambition in her. Yet doubt gnawed at her resolve. But what does that even look like? I've just begun to figure out who I am. How can I help others when I'm still working on understanding myself? Alex grinned, unfazed. That's exactly it. You don't need to have it all figured out. Vulnerability connects us, and your experiences can guide others. An array of thoughts cascaded through her mind, potential paths branching out before her, yet fear kept pulling her back. What if the greater journey meant unexpected challenges? Could she truly guide anyone while navigating her own truths? Emma resolved to press deeper, to draft a solid plan instead of succumbing to inaction. Later that evening, reflecting on her career, she returned to her apartment with a determination that tasted unfamiliar yet exhilarating. Sitting at her desk, now illuminated by a single lamp, she opened her laptop and began typing her ideas, strategies to channel her passion into something that mattered. As the keys clicked, clarity began to form. Why not host workshops designed to explore vulnerability and resilience? She could create a platform for others to voice their experiences, just as she had. With each sentence, her perspective began shifting. Her story could transform into a blueprint for others. But then the familiar fear lurked beneath. What if no one showed up? What if they found her voice unworthy? Moments later, Emma closed the lid with a resolute snap. Those fears would not define her. It was the first step toward committing fully to her newfound path. She needed strategic guidance, a mentor to help her integrate this vision into reality. But who? The next day at her workplace, Emma found herself pondering multiple mentors, colleagues who had paved their own career paths. Inspiration struck when she remembered Clara, a respected figure known for her dynamic workshops that addressed personal growth. Reaching out to her felt daunting. Could Clara even spare the time to guide someone still grappling with self-doubt? The thought of making that phone call pulsed in her mind. It would be a leap of faith into the unfamiliar. Fueled by a blend of anxiety and anticipation, she began drafting an email that would set her intentions clear. Just as she finished the draft, a notification interrupted her thoughts. An email from Alex, referencing a workshop he wanted her to co-facilitate. A breath caught in her throat. This could be her opportunity to amplify her voice while embarking on this journey with someone she admired. But along with that excitement arose apprehension. What if she faltered in front of a live audience with Alex by her side? Would they perceive her as unqualified? The internal dialogue heightened from mere introspection to an urgent necessity. She could not remain static. Alex's proposition demanded an answer. Deep down, she sensed a pivotal moment of transformation brewing. Would she retreat into self-doubt or embrace the challenge, standing alongside Alex in front of an audience? With her heart pounding, Emma clicked on the email and began to respond. Her finger hovered over the keyboard, grappling with that unique blend of fear and exhilaration. This was the precipice of change, but would she choose to leap or pull back? The moment of decision was at hand, and as she crafted her reply, the weight of the choices loomed around her, offering both an unsettling uncertainty and a chance for growth that felt irrevocably vital. Emma sat in her now frequently visited co-working space, a sight vastly different from that cramped diner. Today, the hum of conversation blended seamlessly with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee. Each thrum of activity represented the lives of individuals claiming their paths, and for the first time, Emma didn't feel overwhelmed by the noise. Instead, she felt invigorated by it. It was a reminder of her journey, and where she aimed to go. Months had passed since the gala where she had pressed her lips against Alex's in defiance of expectations. Their relationship had blossomed in ways neither of them expected. It became a crucible of transformation, shaping not just their ambitions but their identities. By now they had successfully launched their workshop series, Redefining Extraordinary, empowering others to confront their vulnerabilities and ambitions with unwavering authenticity. At this moment, Emma felt a deep fulfillment rising in her chest. She had achieved something substantial. Her initial fears had been transformed into strengths, and those moments of hesitation, often drowned in the flood of self-doubt, felt like distant memories. She had proven herself capable of navigating complex dynamics while forging a path for her dreams. The workshop series was gaining traction, and their brand was being recognized. Just last week, they received an invitation from a revered community organization to showcase their work at a national conference. Praise for her unique blend of personal storytelling and practical skill building echoed through the testimonials shared by participants. Yet it wasn't the public acknowledgement that fueled her. It was the sense of belonging to a vision greater than herself. She had become part of a movement where voices that echoed her uncertain beginnings transformed into champions of clarity and strength. As Emma scrolled through the responses to their last workshop, a message caught her attention. A participant named Mia had created a blog post about how the session had allowed her to finally confront her lifelong fears about public speaking. "I couldn't thank you enough," Mia wrote. "Your honesty ignited a fire in me I didn't know was there." Flooded with warmth, Emma realized that this was her moment of solid confidence, a tangible sign of growth that validated every struggle, a life touchstone proving she had transcended from self-doubt to empowerment. Emma looked over at Alex, who was engrossed in drafting plans for their next event. His presence was a consistent source of encouragement. Together they formed a powerful alliance between vulnerability and ambition. Their collaboration elevated each aspect of their work, each grounded in the belief that they were not just teaching others to overcome obstacles but learning to navigate their struggles collaboratively. She approached him, happiness radiating through her smile as she took a seat beside him. "Did you see the impact Mia made?" she asked, her tone buzzing with excitement. He glanced up, an approving grin spreading across his face. "That's what we aimed for, isn't it? This is just the beginning." Emma nodded, her thoughts aligning. They had crafted something truly transformative, not just for others but for themselves. "Let us take this further beyond the workshops," Emma suggested. She felt a surge of boldness blooming in her core. "What if we write a book?" Share these stories and techniques? We can create a broader platform for those who want to define their extraordinary. Seriously? Alex replied, his eyes lighting up in amusement. You want to write? That's brilliant, Em. Emma laughed. Brilliant sounds about right, doesn't it? We can write together for those who need guidance to shatter their limits just as we did. We can offer a roadmap. The thrill of this new idea sparked an infectious energy, fueling their dialogue with tangible excitement. Her vision was coming together. Dreams of becoming a medical researcher were now intertwined with a newfound purpose, facilitating change and impelling others to claim their voice. Standing at this pivotal moment, Emma felt empowered, ready to interact not only with her fears, but also with the very essence of her identity. She was no longer the struggling girl servile to her circumstances. She was now the architect of change. While navigating complexities alongside Alex, she had forged a new career path and an unyielding passion for personal development. As Emma embraced this opportunity for creative outlets, she could feel the familiarity of doubt encroaching her resolve. Would this next step evolve into something considerable? Or was it just another hopeful endeavor lost in the tides of uncertainty? Yet, she understood one crucial thing. Uncertainty wouldn't deter her. Instead, she viewed it as a canvas on which she could create, redefine, and transform her narrative. With an unwavering sense of purpose and a solidified partnership, Emma stepped forward, knowing without a doubt that this was merely the beginning of her story. Together, they would build a platform not just to share their insights, but to cultivate a community where dreams were ignited and ambitions were realized. For the first time in her life, Emma Grant wasn't floundering. She was thriving, and the best was yet to come. Now don't wait even one more second. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel and not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep these fantastic narratives coming. Comment below with your reactions and theories about Emma's journey. And finally, share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Show your support for true personal overcoming stories.